Hello everyone. Welcome to the first Facebook Live session, information session for Australia Awards for studies commencing in 2025. We will give at least 5 minutes until just to allow for everyone to come online, and so we can start our information session. Hello, welcome. With me is one of our Honor Award scholars who is studying in Australia right now and who will get to share about their experience when they were applying for an Australian Award scholarship. We have Junior and we also have Zara. Thank you guys so much for taking time to come and share your experience to applicants who would like to apply for an Australian Award scholarship. As well. So they would be given a bit of time to talk today, and you're more than welcome to ask them any questions about their experience, any tips that they would like to share. Feel free to ask any question. No question is silly. So sit back, enjoy, and we look forward to interacting with you. And just to check with the audio, can you guys type in the chat box if you guys can hear us clearly and if we need to slow down a bit? All good. Thank you, Nagarita. Very clear. Perfect. Perfect. So we'll give at least 2 more minutes, and then we'll start at 12:19 with our first session. Thank you, Larissa. While we're doing the information sessions and we're sharing information, and you have a question, feel free to just type it in the chat box. It's never too early to start asking us questions. And then we also have another staff member who's watching the comment section who can answer your question as well. So it's 12:18. So I'll just start with a welcome, and then so we can start at 12:19 sharp. So welcome to the first Facebook Live information session for Australia Award scholarships for studies commencing in 2025. Just some housekeeping for the comments section on our chat box. Please keep being very respectful and yeah, just keep it respectful for each other. So basically, I'll just do an overview for the Australia Award. So Australia Awards are a prestigious international scholarship that is funded by the Australian government, and this year we're sponsoring bachelor's as well as postgrad, which includes master's and PhD programs. We'll go into a bit more detail about the specifics of what Australia Awards is sponsoring for 2025. The scholarships for studies commencing in 2025 will only be for Australian institutions and not for regional institutions, and will also cover a lot of the benefits for the Australia Award Scholarship. It is a fully funded scholarship. It's one of the best in the world. It covers reunion travel. It covers your stipend, It covers a one-time establishment allowance just to help you settle into Australia before starting your course as well. And so we'll just cover the outline for this session. We will cover the level of studies that will be sponsored for next year. We'll cover the priority areas of studies. We'll cover a bit about the eligibility criteria, as well as a tiny bit on the English language parameters and a bit more information on that as well. And then we will have our scholars who will share about their experience, about how they applied for their Australia Award Scholarship, what's their very best tips as well. And then we will have time for question and answer as well. And then we will go into talking a bit about our online application information kit, which is a 10+ page document which has a lot of the answers to questions that have been asked over the years. And plus we'll touch on about our CVs and our referee templates. And then we will have another chance for a question and answer as well. So everyone, if you're already set, we will start our information session now. Okay, so the Australia Award Scholarship for cohort studies commencing in 2025, the opening date is on 1st February 2024. And the closing date is 30 April 2024 as well. Now the application is online and it's on a portal site called Oasis, and so you will need to create an account on Oasis in order to fill in your application form. Now the first starting point that we always let applicants know is that you need to review the country profile for Solomon Islands first. So that's a good place to start. Now, more information on the country profile is available online on the Australia Awards, Australian High Commission to Solomon Islands Facebook website page. And Adele, a colleague, will type in the link to the country profile on the chat box, and you guys can explore that as well. A good handy tip is that you would, right now, before the application is open, we would encourage you to review the country profile requirements and the information kit before jumping into creating your Oasis account. And many of your questions will be answered in there as well. An alternative way to get your hands on the information kit and the country profile, which covers the priority areas of study that will be sponsored, is to email enquiries at australiaawardsolomonislands.org.sg. So that's our email address. You will then get an automatic reply with the country profile and the online application information kit. Don't worry, the email address will be copied into the chat box as well. Now we will move on to what levels of studies do we sponsor. So we sponsor both undergraduate and postgraduate studies. So an example would be found in the country profile that we have. Country profile. So this is the document. It's online as well. It's basically a 3-pager. And so we cover these main priority fields of study. That includes economic growth, governance, infrastructure, STEM sciences, so that's science, technology, engineering, and math, environment and natural resource management, education, health, and community and social development. Now, note, it's very detailed on our country profile, so I would spend some time just to read into it a little bit. But a tip when you're reading into the country profile is, for example, if you're looking at economic growth, is to spend time to note that it says including but not limited to economics, finance, human resources, management, international relations. So the word including but not limited to means that these are just examples of what you can study underneath the theme economic growth. So if you find anything that's not listed there, but it's related to economic growth, I would encourage you to do research and try to find a link with economic growth. And that is just one example. Please also note that for undergrad health, we do just be cautious about the undergrad. We do sponsor epidemiology, health policy, admin, public health. However, note that we do not study Bachelors of Nursing because that is offered at Solomon Islands National University as well. We also cautious that with education, note that we do sponsor bachelors in education studies, inclusive education, and disability studies that are related under the education field. But note that it is non-teaching education studies. So be cautious as well too when you're doing your bit of research about that one as well. Okay. We'll also, does anybody have questions on that one, or you're all good? Okay, so it's very, very detailed, and so my advice for now is get your hands on a country profile, read through it, and then if you have really specific question that's bespoke to you, feel free to email us or just come in at our office at Hyundai Mall. It's on level 3, suite number 308, and come and have a conversation with us so we can help you answer your questions. So we'll move on to talk about eligibility criteria now. So with our eligibility criteria, you would have to be at least 18 years old and above. We do not have a upper age limit, so you can apply no matter how old you are, as long as you are 18 years old and above. You would also need to complete a senior secondary school, Form 6 and Year 12. And then if you're in Year 13, you can apply, so that's Form 7. You can also apply, and then once your Form 7 results come in, as soon as they come in, please provide it to us as soon as possible. For those that have finished Form 6 and might have had disrupted studies in the past, but you've gone out and you've had 3+ years of experience out in the world, and also have just in the meantime, in the 3 years, you've also done a bit of diploma from USP or SINO, you're encouraged to apply. Note that when you're researching institutions to put into your application as your first preference or your second preference, it's really good to have a list of what qualification you already have, for example, a diploma from USP, and then make sure also research to see if the institution recognizes that as well. So when you're doing research is a big part of it. So yes, we will recognize SINO, Australia Awards will recognize SINO, SINO qualification and USP qualification, but a big step of the selection and application process is also if the institution that you chose would recognize your qualification. So we highly encourage you to research on your path as well. And in terms of the eligibility requirements, we also touch base on English language proficiency. So that is the Australia Awards. There's Australia Awards parameters that you would have to meet in order to be selected for Australia Awards scholarship. So for the past intakes, we have done TOEFL and we have done IELTS testing as well. And so you need to, it's a big application, it's a big step. You need to be prepared for an English language test, and you need to score at least the Australia Awards benchmark. You need to score at least 84 with a minimum of 21 in all subtests, and that is for a TOEFL IB. Now for an IELTS, which is an international English language testing system, you need to have an overall score of 6.5 with no band less than 6.0. And when we talk about the subjects, we're talking about listening, reading, writing, and speaking. But don't worry, more information specific to English language testing will be provided in our 5th information session. If you already have English language test scores from IELTS or for TOEFL, the test scores need to be valid on 1st January 2025. And usually if you've done an English language test, that's a TOEFL or an IELTS, they will remain valid for at least 2 years. So if you've done that already, that will definitely be a plus on your application. Okay. So we'll move on to our guest speakers, who will speak a bit about their application tips, their best tips, and feel free to ask any questions if you have. So we'll start with Junior. Do you want to share a bit about your application process?
Yeah. So, during my application process, it's way back in 2019, so it's a bit different from now. So, one of the main things I would say is time management. Because some of the questions they require you to think and also do some research. And for me, I've split the questions into sections, and I answer each time. Whenever I have that, I just finish that section, and also I reach out to some of the scholars at the time, and they also advise me on the application process, and also I also gave it to my friends to read through, a proofread, and also check some of the spelling, and also when you are interested in a certain field, just do some research on it, and because you have to show it that you are really interested, and just do a little bit of research on that one as well. And I would say reaching out to friends will also really help you, and also set up your the documents, your transcripts, and also reference from tutors or these important documents. They are good to just do it early as soon as possible, and during our time we do it manually. So some of us, like high school students, we don't have laptops, so it's a bit different from now. So now we have to do it online. So yeah, for us, we just write, but now it's not online. Yeah. And
Thank you, Junior. Zahra, do you want to share your helpful tips?
Okay. I'll give a brief profile before I give my tips so that if you guys have questions, then you can link it properly then. Can you guys hear me properly? Because I think there's a bit.
Okay.
Some
You'll move a bit closer.
Can you guys hear me properly? If you could type it into the comments, please. Hello, hello. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. I hope you guys can properly hear me. So my name is Zara. I study at the University of Queensland, which is in Brisbane. So first port in Sligo, Aussie, and I study degrees in business and information systems. So that's my profile. And then 2 tips. My colleague here gave very good tips on time management and mentoring. So I'll just elaborate further and louder because I think you couldn't properly hear some of the stuff. We were a bit back. So on the time management thing, the application process, there's a lot of stuff that you need to do. Things you need to get prepared, get them certified, and then the questions or the things you need to answer, it's quite daunting when you look at it because there's a lot of it. So you have to plan and break it down, like my volunteer said, into sections, and then you answer them when you have time. Put time out, yeah? It's not something that you just, like it's due next week, I'll just write it up. It's not something that you can do like that. There's a lot of wisdom that goes into, like, when you prepare ahead, you go through the questions, what you think right now, you put them into the answers, and then later on, when you get more information, you can probably, it becomes more clear, and then once you write that down, that process of moving into, I think this one is better, that's what gives you a high quality application. So that would be one tip. And please research your answers, yeah? Like if you, this is what I want to do, go check the country profile, because they have things like, they suggest that, and you link it to that. It's not that, you I'll write this one because it's on the country profile. Like, know what you want to do, but take the time to link it there, because definitely you can link it there. So if you plan it and then research up the handbook and everything, then you can do that. So that's the first tip. And then the second tip would be, if you know someone who has gotten the award or like someone experienced in the application process, it would be very good to reach out, especially the alumni or even current scholars, to seek advice on like what are some things that you find right now that you feel like, I think you want confidence in your answers or in the documents that you prepare. It would be really good if you could reach out to someone. But for those of us, maybe right now you don't know anyone or you're not close with them, you don't feel like you can ask them, don't worry, like they have the email. So pop the email in with your inquiry. Like don't feel down if you don't know a mentor or scholar. But if you do, I recommend you definitely reach out and ask them. And they might have, gotten the scholarship or like gone through the process a few years back, so it might change or something, they might forget the details, but still it's very good to get that confidence from them. So those are the two tips. And then I think they also asked if we could say what we feel like we did good in our application. So I think, because this scholarship is looking for like rounded individuals. So it's not just academic. I say, just my grades and that'll be good. You have to, when you present yourself in the application, you're letting them into like your life. Like this is who I am, this is what I do, and I want to do this. And so I would like to use your scholarship as the way for me to do that, a vehicle for me to get there. And so when you put that, the things you do outside there, if you go to Sunday school, if you go back to the village on holidays and you help out there, put all of that into your, I think it's the CV. And then when you answer the questions, give that, have personality in your application. So don't just go like format, I want to do the like don't just be according like proper, be open with it and just make them like you with your application. Yeah, so that would be what I think I did right. And I think they gave us a brief outline. So another one would be a key highlight to share from my studies. It's very independent, and if you like independence, definitely this is something that you should get, scholarship that you should try your best for. Because there's a lot of like, you go out on the other side, you look for where to live, their houses, you plan your meals, get into school, studies, everything, if you want to work. So a highlight there would be you get that independence when you go overseas. And then a lot of the kids, they don't have a steady flow, but with a scholarship, you can get that. And then another highlight would be the networks there. There's a lot of also awardees from other countries as well. So when you go to the outside, there you can get, like, if you want to do like business or something, you meet the people and you know like, maybe there's a potential supplier there, like after the scholarship they go back, but you have that contact. So those will be the highlights. Thank you. Feel free to ask questions. And if you would like to add on.
Yes. And also we'll hand over to Juliet to just add a bit more, because I believe you guys didn't hear me for the first time. So Juliet, can you just share a bit about what you're studying, where you're studying, and a bit about your best tips and also talk about what you think you did right with your application.
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Junior Peter Zura. I studied at the University of Sydney, and I'm currently doing like Bachelor of Pharmacy. And I live in the city, like in the Sydney city, and most people know Sydney is like more expensive as compared to other states. So I encourage you to like, if you want to study in more cheap places like Adelaide would be the best option, and also Queensland or Brisbane. Zara will know that. Yeah. And so two tips that I did for my application is like as Sarah has mentioned, it's mostly time management and also researching the field that I need, want to apply for, and also preparing your CV is the most important thing. You can do it first, and also like I reach out to the mentors and also see some of the templates, the examples, and please don't copy all those things because they have the systems to scan all these things. So just do it on your own and try your best to answer the questions by yourself. And also, as Sarah has mentioned, be truthful to yourself because if you're selected for interview, they will most ask you about your application. So please be reminded, make sure you will be faithful to yourself. And one thing I would the thing that stand out from my application is I didn't include just my academic stuff. Like I include my leadership skills and also like as Sarah mentioned, like all the thing like the workshops or any of the small things that you are involved in. It's good idea to like just mention it on your application as well. And also like be specific, like when you write, and also check your like grammar and spellings and all these things as well. And so yeah, so like one highlight I would mention is like I met a lot of friends like going out and also be independent and also like traveling around like Australia and visiting cities. So like it's more I like to be like more independent and free and can go. And also I join like our societies and the universities. They're very helpful and they are like help you to learn different cultures, churches or different groups and also like learn diverse cultures and all these things. So that's a brief explanation of my application.
Thank you, Junior. And Junior, just a question, like what did you think you did right in your application that you got selected?
Yeah, so in my application, I did a bit of research on like pharmacy, and I see some of the things that need to be addressed, and so I include those like the gaps that needed to be filled in. So I feel like that's the most important thing that I've made it right in my application.
Thank you, Junior. Does anyone have any question? Feel free to just type it into the chat so we can answer them. And can you guys still hear us clearly? Oh, what places can we get our documents certified from? So, hi Elizabeth. So I'll hand. Oh, perfect. Hi. Okay. I'll just ask our scholars here. When you guys are writing up your application, where did you guys get your document certified from?
There are a lot of public commissioners, so you get them. My mom's a commissioner. I don't know if she can certify documents, but it was more of just like people knowing people.
Yeah.
So I think if you reach out, we can let you know, like, oh, this is a person who can certify documents.
Yes, we'll just go to like the public commissions.
So they're absolutely correct. So you can go to any justice of peace. So those commissioners that they can certify your documents. You can also go to the High Court at Point Cruz. They can also certify it as well. But I believe you need to reach out to those offices for them to let you know what time they're available to certify. And a lot of the law offices certify documents as well. Just be aware that they also cost. So I believe the last time that we checked, it's around $10 to $20 per page. But I feel like with the High Court, it's cheaper. But also, as Zara said, it's also people you know. So if you know somebody that can certify for free, all power to you. Does anyone have any questions, especially for our on award scholars here? How do we? Okay. We have one question. How do you go about finding if whether the institution you're applying for recognizes your qualification? That is absolutely amazing. So I'll answer that last, but I'll start off with any of you guys want to answer that question?
Qualification, I think it's more someone who's working. And something was it generally?
Okay. I'll answer that question. So whether how do you, thank you, Jared, for that question. So the question is, how do you go about finding if whether the institution you're applying for recognizes your qualification? So the first the starting point would be to go online and type in the institution that you would want to go to. So for example, University of Queensland. So I would go on Google, I'd search that up, and then I'll also check for the email address of the admissions team. And if you know the particular faculty, so for example, if you want to go to let's say you want to study a bachelor's of pharmacy, I'd go and find the page from that university's website that looks after bachelor's of pharmacy, and then I'd email the admissions team and ask them, hey, I have this diploma so and so from USP, this, and then add a lot of your supporting documents and ask do you guys recognize this qualification? Also on the websites, for example, University of Queensland, Bachelor of Pharmacy, it has its prerequisites. So prerequisites are what academic qualifications that you need to have before you can be admitted in, or you could get an offer from that university. So everything is online and it's free. So I would just read through those prerequisites first, and then they would also let you know which institutions around the world that they recognize. Now, some institutions would not explicitly say that they recognize University of South Pacific or Solomon Islands National University. And so that's when you would go to step 2 and email the admissions team or email the information. They would have an email with, if you have more questions, that you could ask if they would recognize your transcript or your qualification from USP or SINU. So it's about talking directly to the institution firstly. And if you would like to, if you are unsure, I would recommend you start the process now. So thank you, Jared, for that question. This question from Ashley. How, if I've certified my documents last year or a few years, can I still use it now? No. So your certificates, your certified documents need to be valid for at least the last 6 months. So if you certified it, let's say 2 years ago, you would need to recertify it for use for this year's application. Ray also has a question. Are the application process for undergrad and postgrad are the same? Yes, they're similar. With the postgrad and the undergrad, you would still have to go to step 1 of applying for an application through AEST. Step 2, you would have to sit the interview. Step 3, we would then assess, and then you would need to sit the English language test. So the process is similar. When do you apply for the Australian university admissions? Do you apply whilst applying for Australia Awards? So if you go through our process, if you are shortlisted and go into our interviews and you get shortlisted, we will apply for admissions at an Australian university on your behalf via AEST. So the same portal that you use to apply for an Australian Award Scholarship, we will also use to apply for your admissions to the university. So you don't need to apply. However, we encourage you to research if that institution that is your first preference or your second preference recognizes your diploma as well. So you don't need to apply. So the short answer is you don't need to apply. We will apply on your behalf if you get shortlisted. And just a question to our scholars, in terms of like when you were researching into your particular course that you studied, like what steps did you guys use? Did you
in the program?
yeah, into your prerequisites, like what did you guys do?
Okay, I'll go first. I went specifically to I looked up a couple of universities because I wanted to do business. So then I looked for a bachelor that I wanted, and then I went through a couple of universities, and then I found that the University of Queensland came out as the best, especially in Queensland. And so you go specifically to that degree, and then they have the specific requirements, like minimum requirements, I think it was. So make sure that because some of the universities, the degrees are online only. So I'm not sure about if the scholarship covers like degrees that are fully online. So just make sure you check the specific degree with the different universities, compare them so that you know which one specifically you want. I think that would be my favorite.
For me, I also do my research first. I did a preferencing like a bit different. Like I was in Australia, University of Monash is the most like in terms of pharmacy. They are the #1 university. So I put University of Sydney as my first preference, and second I put Monash. So that's my own fault. Like, but it's alright. Like Sydney is fine. I like it, and yeah. So it's mostly just do your own research and look up on the university website. They have their own like portals, like in terms of health or law or all these things. You can have a look on our websites, and they have like a course books and training sites. They all online. So yeah, just do your own research if you would like to.
Thank you, Junior. I believe with Jared's question, sorry, I missed the last part. It says, how do you go about finding if whether the institution you're applying for recognizes your qualification? So we've answered the first part, but it says also question intended for postgrad applicants. The same answer would be for postgrad applicants. It's talking directly to the institution. However, if you're applying for a PhD or especially courses that is research heavy, and you would need if for example you're doing a master's by research or you're doing a PhD, the first starting point would be researching online, but also looking for supervisors. And then the supervisors can be a key part in helping you write up your application, because you would also need to also have a draft submission for your thesis if you're doing it via research as well. So that's particularly for postgrad applications. Anyone have any last questions? Good. So as we as we go on with our information session, I'll have Adele, our team member, to copy paste a example of a page that has prerequisite information for a, let's say, example, a Bachelor of Science, where they can help you find prerequisites and to help you figure out whether or not that particular university recognizes your qualification or not. Oh, okay. So, thank you, Jared. Okay. My second question is, most Australian universities have some info on their admissions requirements. Can you explain what it means to have a GPA of 4 out of 7 or overseas equivalent? Yes, I can answer that question. And also Zara and Julia would have experience on this one as well. So in Australia, usually they're linked. The highest score that you can get is a 7, and so that's a high distinction. A 6 would be a distinction. So if we're translating it into our USP grading scale, their 7 would be our 4.5, I believe, because our highest is a 4.5. So you would have to translate it across. A GPA of 7 is the highest. So that would be, if you have a Form 7 transcript, that would mean a 4.7. A 6 would mean a 4, a GPA of 4 as well. So we acknowledge a lot of the institutions don't really go into detail on how they recognize our University of South Pacific GPAs, but that's how I would start translating it to convert what it means to be a GPA of 7. GPA of 4 would be around a 2.5 if we're looking at USP. That would be my explanation of the GPAs as well. Zara, do you want to add on to that?
So I'm not sure about other universities, but the University of Queensland, if a minimum of 4 is basically you pass. That 4 is the minimum to pass. Below 4 you fail. So I'm not sure about other universities, but so I think it's the same with the USP. I think if they say it's 4, then at least you pass overall or something.
Harvard, the GPS, it also depend on the courses.
Yes.
Right. So it's depend on which type of course. Some arts courses, you can just go through so mostly it depends on the program you choose, the GPAs. Like for us, I remember one friend, they look at the GPA, like if you do pharmacy, you have to accept them GPA, so she switched to another health-related program to join the GPA.
Thank you both. Okay. Christy, we have a question for you. What other processes an applicant has to go through after application is submitted till the final selection for the scholarship recipients? Good question, Christy. So it is multi-step and transparent process, but it is a lot of steps. So after your application is submitted, then you would have to wait until we do our selection process, and then we would let you know, which is around August 2024. We'd let you know. We would then let you know if you're selected for interviews or if you're unsuccessful. So that's step 2. and then you would come in, sit for the interview, and then you would have to wait until we have one of our final selection, and then we'll go back to you again and let you know whether you're successful in interviews. And then we would have to come in. You would have to come in if you're selected. You would have to come in for the English language testing. After that, you would have to also go through course counseling, and after you do course counseling, you would, if you're successful, then you move on to placement. So it is a lot of steps, and it does take a lot of time. Don't worry, we'll go into a bit more detail about the selection process steps in our next FP Lives. But basically, that's the summary of what we do. It is a lengthy process, but it's worth it at the end. And just to add on to Christy's question as well, as one of the steps is the English language testing, and you have to meet the Australia Awards benchmark. You also have to note that you have to meet your cost preference benchmark as well. So for example, if you want to do let's say a master's or project management at Bond University, you would have to make sure that you know the English language benchmark for that particular course. So even if you meet the English language benchmarks for Australia Awards, for example, IELTS having an overall benchmark of 6.5 with no subtest less than 6.0, you have to make sure that you also meet the first course preference, their benchmark as well. So whichever is the highest is the one that you need to aim for. So just a helpful tip now, if you're preparing for success, while you're preparing to write your application, to gather statistics, to gather data, to reaching out to scholars such as Junior and Zara, one of the things that you need to also bear in mind is, okay, after interview, I would need to sit an English language test. So right now in your preparation, I need to also factor into time to research a bit about what does it take to study for an IELTS exam. What do I need to improve my English language skills as well? So thank you, Christy, for that. Don't worry, if we also have other Facebook Live sessions that are coming up. And so what I'll do is I'll just talk a bit more. Sorry, Zara. I'll talk a bit more about the application information kit and the CV and referee templates that Zara and Juna talked about a bit today, and then we'll close off this session. Don't worry, our next Facebook Live session is on 8 February 2024. And if you have any more questions, just email us and we can happily answer them as well. So I'll talk about the application information kit. So this application information kit, as I mentioned earlier today, is available on the Australian High Commission to Solomon Islands website, which Adele has already copied into the chat box. You can also get it if you email us at enquiries@australiaawards solomonislands.org.sg. So this is the kit. It's a lot of pages, but it's worth the read. So a lot of your frequently asked questions, links to OASIS, links to create a OASIS application is here. More about our eligibility requirements are here, as well as a lot of more details on the supporting documents you need to have. So all of your documents need to be certified within the last 6 months, referee reports. So a lot of this information, I would just recommend get your hands on this one first. Spend at least 2 weekends reading through it, and if you have specific questions, just email us or just come have a chat with us as well. One tip now would be if you do not have a private email, whether it's Gmail or Outlook, you need to have it now, and you should tag it as your main point of contact. If you're working for an organization, I would discourage using that email because you don't know when you would not have access to that email. So if you don't have an email, create it now and label it as your main point of contact as well. Please remember to remember your passwords and that you use for that email, because that email you will use to create your Oasis application. If you forget your password for your Oasis application when it opens first Feb, Australia Awards Solomon Islands cannot help you to reset your password. Oasis is looked after by department in Canberra, so we don't have control over that. So a big tip now is to just make sure you remember all your passwords as well. So if you have any questions about applications, information kit, just have a read about it first and then just ask us a bit more questions about that. And then we'll also talk about CVs and referee templates. So the CV and referee templates, once 1st of Feb 2024 comes, then you will have it automatically available in our automatic reply when you email inquiries at solomonislensaustraliaawards.org.sb. So these will be available. Now, these templates, they're not mandatory. However, they help you structure your application to us as well. And it makes it easier for your referee as well. So the templates are simple and they're very easy to use. Make sure you certify all of your transcripts. And so a big tip now is that we all know that it's really slow to get a response from a lot of the institutions that we might have studied for in the past few years. So a good handy tip is before applications open is to just write up a list of all the qualifications that you have. So for example, if I've done a Form 7 example 3 years ago and I lost my certificate, it's really good to start asking your institution now about about applying for a new transcript or a new certificate as well. Passport. So the choice to apply for a passport, it depends on you, but just be aware that we do have a lot of shortages in the last few months and years as well. So when you're applying for application, just bear in mind that, you know, eventually at a point, if I am successful, I would need to show proof of ID as well. So you need to attach whatever ID that you have now, but just bear in mind to start considering whether I should apply for a passport now. And that is a personal choice and that is totally up to you. If you're using a photo ID, you need to make sure that it's colored copy and that it's certified as well. If you have any questions, we'll start answering them again, and Juna and Zara can answer that as well. Okay. Hi there. Can we use Oasis account from last year to do, or do we have to create a new one? Thank you so much, Breadbank. You would have to create a new account. So every time you do a new application, we highly encourage you to just do a new Oasis account as well. Any lucky last question for our scholars? All good. Okay. So just a reminder that session 2, our Facebook Live session for session 2 is on 8th February 2024. Just watch out for the Australian High Commission Solomon Islands Facebook page post, and then you will click on the link for our next upcoming Facebook Live sessions. Just reminder, do a bit more research, search out the website page for the for your course that you would want to study. Oh, how do you go about finding your accommodation? Good question for our scholars. How did you go about finding accommodation?
Okay, I'll go first. There is a website called realestate.com.au. I'll ask you if they can type it into the chat. But that was what I used the first time I went over. And accommodations can be a bit expensive, but if you use that website, then you can choose options, the price range or where you want to live, so that if you're thinking of a specific uni, then you can look for places close to that uni. And yeah, I'll hand it over to my friend here.
So for me, it's a fantastic question because nowadays it's too expensive. Like a lot of international students are coming and studying, and houses is also expensive. So I use like a flat rates. It's similar to the one Shara has mentioned. And that one you can also find. You can type in the suburbs and all like your area, the postcode, and it will show up. And there are also like price ranges for students. And so for me, I do my own research and I managed to find like the flat rate. So I watch it from TikTok. So
Lovely. Lovely.
yeah. So that's one tip I get from like flat rates. That's the website I use.
And just a question, like, we also know the institutions that you guys went to have like Facebook pages. Like when you were applying for application, did you stop that Facebook page or like?
So for me, like our contact officer, they had like the Facebook rental things on they send it on so yeah, like we access to some of the Facebook housings and the prices. And also like if you had friends, they will also recommend you like yeah, so there are a lot of options you can
Thank you. So we've also attached the link to Flatmates as well on the chat box. So feel free to just explore that, especially if you already know what particular city that you would want to study at. Elizabeth Habu, are there any templates for answering questions? No. So we don't give out templates for answering questions, but we do give out templates for CV and referee templates. Those are the only templates that we provide. In terms of answering questions, yes. So I would recommend just reading our information kit. That might just help you a bit with answering your questions when you're writing up your application. I feel like the biggest tip would be to reach out to our scholars. If they can, if you know somebody who's an Australian Awards alumni or an On Award scholar like these two, reach out to them, and if they are free or they would like to help, they can also give tips to you. They might even review your application, but that is totally up to the alumni or scholar as well. But I'm sure they're happy to. And just to add on to that, there are 4 main questions in the OASIS application form. However, you will only have to start. You will get access to those 4 questions when applications open on 1st February 2024. All good. And so if you want to hang around a bit more, we can type in other links that would be helpful. For example, we talked earlier about researching prerequisites for certain courses and how to search on institutions' website. So Adele will copy paste an example for you guys on the chat box. Jared has a question. In a situation where an applicant has lost his or her original certificate, can AusAid accept letter of certificate from institution? Okay. In the case where you've lost your original certificate, I would highly encourage you to reach out to your previous institution and to ask them. I believe a lot of institutions would have a mechanism where they could reissue new certificates provided you pay a fee. So that depends on institution from institution. Australia Awards will not accept a letter of certificate from institution. It has to be your degree, your certificate, and your transcript, and not a letter. Okay. Well, other than that, we have run out of time. But if you have any questions and you're happy, please feel free to reach out to us. If you know Zara and Junia, feel free to reach out to them so that they can help you with your application as well. If you want to come and have a face-to-face chat, just a reminder, we're at Hyundai Mall, Suite 308, and happy for you to come and join us so that we can just help you. So good luck with your Australia Awards scholarships preparation, and thank you, Junia and Zara, and see you next time on February 8th, 2024. Thank you, and see you next time.
All the best.